What? Girls back on the mic? That's right, we're back for some good old-fashioned date night. So the backstory here is that in February, we saw this game called Tokyo Scramble in the Nintendo Direct and thought, what on earth was that game? That would have been where the story ended, but fast forward a bit and it turns out that the game has a co-op mode. And not only that, but the developers reached out to us to see if we'd want to cover it on our channel. Well, since we consider ourselves to be the couples co-op experts, it seemed like the perfect excuse to give the game a spin and see what scrambled Tokyo on date night. You want to scramble in Tokyo together?
Please.
Tokyo Scramble sits somewhere between a scary, thrilling game and an over-the-top campy trip. 1 minute, we're quietly creeping through a hallway, and the next, we're cracking up about a ledge we walked off while we were both staring at the dinos. I'm not entirely sure what the game is trying to be, but Nick and I both kind of just ricocheted between crying in fear and wheezing with laughter, which made for quite the evening. I was exploring.
I guess maybe when there's like...
Before we get down to the nitty-gritty, we gotta set the table for you all. Hello, is anyone there? Don't make a noise. Story-wise, Anne was riding the subway to school, and apparently a sinkhole opened up, and she was left as the sole survivor of the wreckage. If being late for school wasn't bad enough, the hole she's landed in is populated by a bunch of prehistoric monsters. Our job is to help her navigate the subway system and get her out safely.
Is it just me, or could that thing definitely poke his head through the window there?
I don't think that dino's working hard enough. So right off the bat, we have to discuss the elephant in the room, the co-op.
Literally half of your, like, jobs are inert right now because the flash is not charged.
The game uses something called Game Share, which is pretty cool. It makes it so that we both don't have to own a copy of the game, and it allowed Boy to play with his Switch 1.
You got an incoming boy coming here.
A tactical boyfriend.
The tactical boyfriend's coming in. It's me!
The boy who meets the girl! There's this border around the screen the entire time we're playing, which is a little annoying. And frankly, it makes for a worse resolution while recording, but I'm making Boy crop it out in post. Say thank you, Nick. So anyways, only one of us needed to have a Switch 2, which is good, because we only have one Switch 2.
Are you able to focus, or do I have to focus? Can any of us focus?
Co-op wasn't exactly what we were expecting, though. Instead of something like traditional split screen, Tokyo Scramble has us both controlling its main character Anne at the same time.
What is this? Okay, wait a minute.
Wait, so I'm pink.
So
which one of us is gonna be Anne?
What? Hold on. Wait a minute.
When we booted into the level, we gotta pick what we wanted to control. So basically, one of us could control Anne's movement, one of us could control her actions like crouching and sprinting, and I think you get the idea. Is this like a democratic process, or are we gonna have to like rock, paper, scissors?
I mean, you and I can be diplomatic about this, surely, right?
It's kind of a mess if you don't divide the controls in a cohesive way. And to be completely honest, the co-op doesn't really feel like true co-op.
Right now, you have full control. Everything is P1.
So that's what I've been doing.
What are you willing to cede to Boy?
No. Honestly, you might be better at sneaking around than me. It's only a few strands of DNA off from me handing him the right Joy-Con and us playing through the game like that. To be honest, that might actually have been easier since we wouldn't have had to use 2 switches. And Lord knows this ugly border on the screen wouldn't have been an issue. Okay.
This is gonna be either really fun or a mess. Actually, it probably will be fun for everyone else, though. So, I mean, that's a win.
I just want to make sure we let everyone know that this wasn't what we were expecting when we were told this was a co-op game. And it's a little underbaked for our tastes. That's okay, though, because we're going to make the most of it and still have fun with the co-op, or at the very least, die trying. You can position us in a way where I'm not in front of a wall.
This game is built to ruin relationships, I can already tell.
I tried taking the easy way out and giving him the more active role so that I could just sit back and click a button every few minutes to activate a trap or open a gate. But he wouldn't let me get away with it.
Do you think he saw us? Oh yeah, he definitely saw us.
Okay.
Oh, we're so dead. Oh god. Do you think we saw us?
He called it the equivalent of giving his little brother the unplugged controller and letting him play along.
Like, this is like giving your little brother an unplugged controller level of multiplayer right here.
So instead, we're doing this the hard way. Thank God we're not married because we'd be divorced. Walking and moving the camera are on separate controls. So for the spice factor, he had to split them between the two of us.
Look ahead, please. Ah! There's a thing. Oh my God, she's like 170 beats per minute.
Oh shit! We're killing Anne!
Get under there. Oh my God.
Oh, girl, catch your breath. This creates a really interesting dynamic where the person moving and the person looking have to really be on the same wavelength to move in a straight direction. Otherwise, they end up walking back and forth in a zigzag pattern. Was it just me? Oh!
I can't even see if I'm being chased right now.
Let me take a moment to remind you, by the way, that this is supposed to be a stealth game about hiding from velociraptors. With him and I in control, we've got Anne wandering around like she's lost in a parking garage trying to find her car.
Like my curiosity, this is the worst. This is like when you get sleep paralysis, Taryn.
Oh no.
And you can't like turn your head.
Keep it together, Anne. This game isn't like Dino Crisis. And if you couldn't tell, that line came straight from Boy. It's more of a puzzle game than anything. You don't have to fight the dinos like with guns or weapons, but there are some ways to use the environments to distract and incapacitate some of them.
Let's try crashing it on him. Crash it on him right now.
Oh, that worked.
Oh shit, that actually did kill him. Oh my God.
Holy shit, okay. I almost feel like playing this way made it scarier because whoever was Anne's legs was basically walking by. And like every time we would get eaten by a dinosaur.
Oh, what the fuck?
That was so scary.
Okay, that time it was fast. Oh no. Leon!
Anne has a heart rate monitor at the bottom of the screen that works kind of like a stamina bar. It's a cool feature in the sense that the tense moments feel more extreme when Anne's heart picks up because the dinos are sniffing around. Oh, I'm glad that the dinos aren't smarter than that.
Heart's racing because I feel like I'm gonna screw up this camera work. The cameraman always survives though, Taryn.
On the other hand, unless she's crouching, Anne breathes like she's running a marathon. I don't know if she's got really bad asthma or if she's just been smoking like a chimney her entire life, but she breathes so heavily that it kind of stresses me out because these monsters are attracted to noise. I don't really know what the fans were doing in the subway.
Please stop hyperventilating. You're gonna get caught, girl.
Breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth.
Escalator, escalator, escalator!
Woo!
Eels.
Speaking of noise, Anne loves talking to herself down here, which is great for exposition, but again, we're trying to keep it down because these things look hungry.
Yeah, that's literally what just happened, Dan.
Anne needs better self-preservation. She also talks to her watch, which I'll give her a pass on because I'd probably start doing the same if I was trapped underground with a bunch of dinosaurs in low-cut shorts too.
Okay, what I was gonna say, Taryn, was she picked the absolute worst shorts for this.
100%. Just to clarify, the dinos aren't wearing low-cut shorts, but this one with hair could definitely pull them off. The watch she talks to, she named Diana, and it's what helps her activate some of the machinery and tech that's collapsed into the sinkhole with her.
Thanks for saving me back there.
You're very welcome. Is she talking to us?
I was gonna say, I didn't realize we were on a first name basis already, Anne.
I know. I'll call you Diana.
My name is Tarny.
Diana, besties for life.
Well, I go by Diana now.
Come on,
Taryn.
Diana. I actually was the one who got put in charge of those controls in the game share. So Nick started calling me Diana, which only made things more confusing.
Are you gonna be upset if I start calling you Diana?
I'm Anne. Actually, no, I'm not Anne.
I'm
I don't know
Anne.
who I
You're
am.
Diana. I'm Anne and you're Diana.
Okay. I can be Diana. You have to call me Princess Diana. The apps on our watch are super niche, but also super useful. They can do handy things like flatten dinos with falling elevators, activate soda and coffee machines, which I guess the dinosaurs like to drink. Oh
What's
no,
happening
they're gonna
down
be
there?
even faster because of the caffeine. And of course, our favorite of the bunch, creating dinosaur treadmills with escalators.
Oh, we can run the escalator. Nice. That is going the wrong way. What is happening?
Hey, that's almost like a treadmill. Time to get your steps
What the
in.
fuck is going on, Taryn? What is this? So I guess we're not supposed to go up that escalator. That's just a dino treadmill, apparently.
I know it sounds ridiculous, but hear me out. No one can prove that dinos didn't enjoy running on inclined treadmills before they went extinct. So is he gonna be interested in that
That one is now
So he's
That
stuck
guy
on a
is
treadmill.
occupied.
Okay. Eventually, Anne runs into her brother Ray down here, and he helps her out a bit. He's also got a watch, possibly named Diano, which has an app that can move trucks.
Okay,
Like,
thanks,
on
Ray.
it.
I'm assuming that thing's dead.
It's maybe a telekinetic watch, or maybe he can just remotely jump the engines. Honestly, I'm not going to ask too many questions because he's the one saving our skins.
Ray, are you on cooldown or something, brother?
Okay.
There.
Ray
Thank
was
you.
on cooldown.
Holy shit, Ray.
After about an hour of playing and slowly getting more and more motion sick from girlfriend camera work, I had an epiphany. Let me control Anne, and he can work the camera. Okay, we're trading.
Okay, fine. Let's
Freaking hard.
go into the settings and then we can switch the...
I'm gonna be honest, it didn't really change much. But at the very least, he stopped complaining about my cinematography, so I consider that a win. I feel like we're arguing less with this setup.
I feel like if I don't agree with you, we're gonna start arguing again.
The reality is, just because you can, doesn't always mean you should. The co-op wasn't as smooth as we'd hoped for and was kinda grating. I really think he would have been better off just playing the single player mode and letting me watch. But let's not forget who we're dealing with. Stubbornness is half the fun on date night. Wait, turn him around. We need to look at it. How can I not? That is definitely the better way to go. Objectively. Like,
Why?
I can fit here, but this is objectively the better way to go.
That's confusing, man. I don't know what to tell you. I'm just the cameraman. I just work here.
That being said, it did wear us down after a while, and I think our breaking point was the first sort of boss battle against this pterodactyl-looking monster.
Oh my god, pterodactyl alert.
What you're meant to do is activate a garage at the back of the room and then kite the bird until it opens. You can block it with the car lifts around the room and then make an escape.
Yeah,
You ready?
I'm ready.
It's your
I'm
big
ready,
moment.
Taryn.
It's your big moment.
Bring it on.
Oh jeez! Oh jeez! He's just pissed at it. The tragedy being that if you thought crouching and walking in a straight line was difficult, running is a whole other animal. Ah! Run!
Where?
This way! I'm gonna have to assume that Anne isn't running track and field because running 3 car lengths in this garage puts the poor girl into cardiac arrest. So much for running for your life. We did eventually outsmart the bird and make a great escape, but good lord did we lose a piece of ourselves in that feather-covered parking lot.
Don't overdo it. Don't overdo it. Come on, Anne. What the hell? What the hell was that? I don't ever want to see another pterodactyl again after that.
He could see by the look on my face that I was ready to throw in the towel and call it a night. We'd been chomped a few too many times for girls' tastes.
I realize how not fun you're having. How many levels did you say there were?
Like I said, this is probably a much different experience in single player mode, but the co-op really wasn't for me. I did tell him though that he should invite one of his buds over and see if they can tango better than we could. Something tells me it'll play less delicate if the person running the camera isn't the one you're falling asleep to at the end of the night.
I don't know what you're doing. What?
I don't know. I want to quit. I don't know.
Okay, when I say peek around the corner, like, can you peek around the corner?
As much as it hurts me to say it, we've met our match. Our co-op relationship is strong, but not strong enough to survive the scramble. I guess we'll take our Tokyo over easy.
Oh, it looks like we're out of battery, Taryn. I guess we're gonna have to call it a night here.
Thank you again to the team behind Tokyo Scramble for sponsoring this video. Although the co-op didn't really jive with us, I love when we can tackle a smaller project and play a game together. That said, maybe you and a loved one are up to the challenge. Head over to the Nintendo eShop and check out Tokyo Scramble for yourself. We'd love to hear how you do. If you're hungry for more boy and girl content, you can find us over on Twitch. We've also got a big video coming out next week, so keep your eyes peeled for that. I also want to thank our patrons and channel members for their continued support. We really appreciate all of you. Extra special thanks to our 6-wheelers, Daniel Rogers, Gizmo, Isaac Vogan, David Webb, Mace, Gray is Sleepy, Taco Supreme, Parav Skittles, Envy, Cry, Regulus, Serenisane, Blaze of Fire, Mist the Fox, Blondes, Shameboy, and Cerberus. That's all we've got for you. See you next week, friends!